the mind of the master, the prime poet designed for disaster, a crime candidate, the light heavyweight. I might levitate right through the heaven's gate. Rhymes record break neck spines and vertebrae. Simple and plain like Kanye. I heard him say it's murder one with me murder tracks. I'm a dirt bag flirting with songbirds and Birkin bags. My first raps catch Roberta Flack. I'm a certified Mac, but I'm sure you ain't heard of that. Slim Thug and them hoes, they been loving the flow. They been hunting for men like In Vogue.
What is going on, Minnesota sports fam? Jeez. One weekend is all it took for everything, for shit to hit the fan everywhere. Let's see. I'm still trying to get my voice going. God, I don't even know where to start. Oh, let's start here. Minnesota Sports Fan Daily. This is Minnesota Sports Fan Daily. I'm going to be going live around noon every single day. Weekdays, not weekends. Most weekdays. Maybe not every single weekday, but you know how it works. So subscribe on YouTube. Follow on Twitter. You'll see it go live there. Otherwise, I started the show a while back, and then things got messed up with a move and all sorts of stuff. So there is podcasts on all your major platforms, Apple, iHeart, Spotify, the MSF Daily, Minnesota Sports Fan Daily podcast. So I will upload these episodes after the fact to the podcast. We'll get those rocking and rolling as well. Anyways, so yes, subscribe on YouTube, follow on Twitter, subscribe on your favorite platform, Minnesota Sports Fan Daily. I'm Eric Strock. I run, operate minnesotasportsfan.com, write most of the blogs, etc., etc. And today we're here to talk about what in the fuck is going on in Minnesota sports. Since the Fleury news happened most recently, let's start there. Let me stop the background music here. All right. Marc-Andre Fleury. Wild trade for Marc-Andre Fleury. They trade a second-round pick that can become a first-round pick if the Wild make it to the Western Conference Finals or beyond this season. So the Blackhawks wanted a first-round pick. The Wild aren't willing to give it up. They try to start Marc-Andre Fleury yesterday in net, and he just implodes in the second period. The Blackhawks, they implode. He ends up giving up 5 goals. I think it was like 4 goals in that second period alone. So Guerin goes back this morning and says, you know what? How about we find a common ground here? You want your first round pick. We want our goalie for a playoff run. So if we get the goalie for our playoff run, then we're willing to give you a first round pick. Makes sense. If not, then Marc Fleury to us is only worth a second-round pick. Blackhawks, fine. Let's do it. So Marc-Andre Fleury comes in for a second-round pick in this upcoming draft, dependent on if they make a run in the Stanley Cup playoffs. If they do, that becomes a first-round pick. Fine, who cares? The Wild make a Stanley Cup run with Marc-Andre Fleury as their main goalie. Oh, that's the other thing about the trade. In order for, even if the Wild make the Western Conference Finals, Fleury still has to start 4 games, or win, sorry, not start. He has to win all 4 of the games in a 7-game series. So if Cam Talbot, if Fleury's having an off game in game 1, let's say we put him in game 1 for the first round of the playoffs, he has a bad game, Wild lose. So they put in Cam Talbot for the next game. Cam Talbot wins his game. That essentially makes this a second-round trade, just like that. Because he has to be the winning goalie in 4 games of each playoff series that the Wild were to win in those first 2 rounds. So that makes it even, less likely that we're going to have to give up a second-round pick. And it's possible because, let's be honest, Fleury is not playing well this season. He's got nearly a 3 goals against average. His save percentage is like .908. So he's not the Marc-Andre Fleury of years past, which is why Guerin didn't want to give up a first round pick just all willy-nilly. Makes sense. So great trade for the Wild. They also turn around and trade for a guy from the Sharks. Honestly, I forgot his name. I don't really care. Another grinder for the third line defense, I believe. I don't really know. But grinder on defense. The Wild now, with their last two trades, outside of Marc-Andre Fleury, have traded for grinder types that can come in and help their depth in the playoffs. What this tells me is they're sick of people trying to get Matt Dumba and Marcus Foligno into fights, and then we lose two of our best players during games on a regular basis. Dumba doesn't want to fight anymore. That's become clear. But teams know that, so they're always instigating him. And Marcus Foligno oftentimes has to come in and play savior. But the team needs Marcus Foligno. So in their last two trades, the Wild, they've picked up two grinders, one on offense, one on defense, that can come in and kind of push people around a little bit without having to worry about the Wild losing any of their best players. So, huge trade. I love it. Wild, even with Cam Talbot, he's like 4-1-1 in his last 6 starts. Don't care. Like, the Wild have to stop giving up so many goals, and I know part of that's on defense, but a lot of that, and clearly Bill Guerin agrees, is in the goal. So, you fix that, you move on with life, and we'll see if Marc-Andre Fleury can resurrect kind of what he had going until he was playing for the Blackhawks this season, where he's been terrible, Blackhawks have been terrible, etc. Capo Kakinen got dealt, so he's no longer the future goalie of the Wild, so it's interesting to see kind of where that goes. All right, let's move on to Carlos Correa. This needs a drink of coffee. Carlos fucking Correa is going to play for the Minnesota Twins this summer. And the Minnesota Twins are going to pay this man $35.1 million, which is a record-breaking number for an infielder. What? I'm still shocked. I was just as shocked as everybody else. Obviously, as the news has come out, because everything happened at 1 o'clock in the morning. I think it was on Saturday morning. So everybody was really struggling to understand what the hell had happened that day. Just to find out that it wasn't really a 3-year contract. It was more like a 1-year contract with injury insurance, essentially. If Correa has a big year, he's going to look for a 10-year, $300 million contract next offseason, and he'll probably get it. Great. If he gets hurt, for whatever reason, things weren't to go, now he has insurance where he's still making $35 million the next 2 years. What I have wondered a lot in the last couple days since really digesting this trade is this all of the times that we're going into Darren Wolfson's replies when he goes, Twins were in on this, Twins were in on that talk, Twins were in on this talk, that talk, whatever. We're always, the Twins are the kings of being in talks, but never landing the actual player, right? You got to wonder how many times it's looked like this, where the Twins are always there money-wise, but they're never willing to make that long-term commitment. So they're often playing this backup option like they are for Correa. The Twins are Correa's backup option. He didn't get a 10-year, $300 million contract like Corey Seager did. So he settles with the Twins on $35 million, hoping to get that contract next year. That's settling. Twins were a fallback option. That's fine. I'm fine with being a fallback option. Fine. But is this what's happening oftentimes and why the Twins struggle to land those big players? Because I get it for Carlos Correa. You're not going to bring a guy in for 10 years. Twins just can't afford to do that. We saw what happened with Joe Mauer. So instead, you go for 1 year. But what happens in the guys who are looking for 3 years? Are the Twins still only like, we'll give you what you want, maybe even a little bit more, but we're only going to give it to you for 1 year because they constantly want that flexibility? It's possible. But then again, they signed Donaldson. They've done other things. So I don't know, but I got to give him credit for doing this one. But it begs the question of, like, what's next, right? You've got Shamanaya and Frankie Montez for the Athletics, and that's kind of the only steam that the Twins have going right now. As I started this podcast, that was the steam that the Twins were in talks with the A's along with other teams on trying to get Montez or Manaea. I did a little bit of a deep dive into those guys' stats this morning. And I'm going to be honest with you. If whatever the Twins have to do to build a winning roster for this season, like, I'm not going to be mad. If the Twins make a splash move to land one of those guys and they have to give up one of their top prospects, I'm not going to complain because I've already told them to do that. But I'll tell you what. Neither Frankie or Sean are number one pitcher types. Middle of the rotation type guys from everything that I was looking up this morning. I mean, we've got ERAs that waver around 4. We've got ERA pluses that are right around 100. Just good stat, good for middle of the road. Like, if middle of the road rotation, very, very good. But they haven't proven anything yet. I'm just not sure I'm ready to see, like, Royce Lewis or Martin go in a deal for one of those guys. I just feel like if you were able to get Martin for Barrios, and then the Toronto locked Barrios up for like 7 years, and they knew that they were going to have those conversations, if you were to turn around and trade a Lewis or a Martin for either Manaea or Montez, that's a minus. You got worse, in my opinion, from everything that I'm seeing. And the problem is, I don't watch Montez or Manaea pitch on a regular basis. I talked about Brandon, my podcast partner, about this morning. So it's difficult because if you look at some of Barrios' numbers, or even if you've watched some of his starts in and out, if you watch the bad ones, you're going to go, I don't want to trade my top prospect for Jose Barrios. I watched Jose Barrios. I saw the nastiness that his stuff had, that if somebody could hone his skills and get him to the next level, he could be next level. And that's what Toronto paid him, $18 million a year, $7 million or 7-year contract. I haven't watched Montez. I haven't watched Manaea, but I'll tell you what, their stats don't tell you that they're that type of player. And and we all know that the Twins, when other teams might be willing to give guys big money coming out of arbitration, the Twins aren't going to be willing to do that. So we have to assume when they bring in either Montez or Manaea that it is a short-term thing. Because if they pitch how the Twins want them to pitch, we're not going to give them. Yeah, I get that, Anthony. 2.13 ERA in the second half of last season. He's talking Montez. Montez, 2.13 ERA in the second half of last season. Anthony, watching on YouTube, thank you for watching. And by the way, if you comment on Twitter, I will probably see them on Twitter. If you comment on YouTube, they pop up on my screen, so I see them for sure. But you're not going to trade your best prospects who are ready to go. Like, these aren't guys in single A, even double A. We're talking about Martin and Lewis are both guys that are, like, ready to make their breakouts into the MLB in the next year or two. You don't trade one of them, in my opinion, for a guy because he had a 2.13 ERA in the back half of last year. That's just not enough for me to do that. So, I don't know. I've seen it go both ways. I've seen it go where I think we're going to have to give up more to get someone, and then we don't, or other teams. And I've seen it the other way where I go, I wouldn't think that we need to give up this much to get that person, then we have to give up more. So I don't know what's going to end up happening, but The Twins are going to do something, I think. This is also a conversation I had with Brandon this morning. Thing that worries me about the Twins, and always is in the back of my mind, that they might not make that final move. They've led us to water just to be thirsty, just to leave us thirsty, or led us to what we thought was water, just to leave us thirsty a bunch of times. I think part of that is that they just do not break like what their slot is for certain guys. Like whether it's a trade or whether it's free agency, we're willing to give up this much for this guy. We're willing to give up that much for that guy, right? But if other teams are willing to give up more, if this is a trade scenario or even in free agency, we're not going to outbid them. Even if it's only a little bit more that we need to give up, we're just not getting into a bidding war. We decide that this is how much guys are worth, and if that we aren't going to get them for that much, then we will just move on. And in the past, I feel like that type of approach is what causes them to miss out on badly needed upgrades. You think you guys need one more pitcher to become a legitimate threat in the AL. Well, why wouldn't a team go out and get that one more pitcher if they know that they're just one pitcher away? Well, it's because if they can't get that pitcher for what they're willing to give out, right, they're not going to bring him in. And for the Twins, they're just so stubborn about that. Could that happen again this year? Montez, Manaea, someone else? It's possible. Would it shock me if we got to April 7th and the Twins haven't made a major move to upgrade their starting rotation? No, that would not shock me. Would it piss me off? Yes. Because here we are. Like, I understand that even with Correa, the Twins aren't scheduled. They're at like $110 million payroll right now, scheduled for 2022. So let's say another $15 million, one more pitcher would get them right around to where they have been in all the years that weren't shortened by COVID. So you could go away. We just landed Correa and we didn't even have to break the bank. We got a pretty good team. Well, sure, but Correa's only going to be here for one season. So if there was any season, any year where you were going to go, you know what, we're going to spend $20 million more. We're going to spend $20 million more, and we're going to get that top-end, bona fide number one pitcher that every team would love to have starting game one of a playoff series. Because now we have Carlos Correa, who is one of the most proven, ballsiest, best hitters in the big leagues in crunch time. The Twins didn't have that before. That's been our struggle. We get to the playoffs, and now our pitching and our hitting derails. Well, now you have the hitting side of that, at least a large part. Not to mention the unproven playoff pieces around him with Buxton, with Polanco, etc. So now you just one pitcher away from go get two pitchers. Go spend to the 120 with Montez, Manaea, whoever it is, and then go get another pitcher. Go bulk up your bullpen. I'd be fine with getting Montez, Manaea going into the regular season. Then you get to the trade deadline. Now you make another deal. Then you save some money because you only pay a guy for half the season. But you get that playoff horse. I'm fine with that. But you got to do something before we get to the season. It wouldn't shock me if the Twins don't, because that's just how the Twins have rolled forever. So stay tuned there. I was 100% wrong on Correa. I never thought the Twins would do something like that, even if they were the fallback option. And I hope I'm wrong again. I don't want to see Lewis or Martin go for either one of those guys. But I'm not going to throw a hissy fit if they end up having to do that. From what I've seen, and I haven't seen that much, I just wouldn't think that either one of those guys are worth your 1 and 2 prospects. All right, we got to talk Wolves. I was disappointed in Star Tribune's coverage this morning of the Wolves, who they had like one little like gamer section like that big in a massive Star Tribune Monday morning. So I don't know. Maybe they don't like the Wolves, but Wolves have moved into the 6th seed in the Western Conference. They're tied with the Denver Nuggets record-wise, but whatever tiebreaker, they must hold it because everybody's got them ahead of the Nuggets. I saw Johnny Cueto. I did see something about that. Johnny Cueto, look, His twin sign Johnny Cueto, great. If he ends up coming back and resurrecting his career and being really good for a year, great. But, I mean, he's not the front end of the rotation upgrade that you're looking for. Anyways, Wolves. Denver. Sorry, lost my train of thought. All right, Wolves, Denver. Denver doesn't play tonight. They played last night. They lost. The Wolves play the Dallas Mavericks tonight, which is intriguing upon itself. If the Wolves win, they gain another half game and move into sole possession, so to speak, of the 6th seed in the West. But what it would also do is move them closer to Dallas, who holds the 5th seed in the West. They're 2 games back on Dallas right now. I got to check that. Hold on, I want to get that right. I believe they're 2 games. It's either 2, 2.5, 1.5. Hold on, I'm getting there. Two and a half games back on Dallas for the 5th seed in the West. So if the Wolves win tonight, they would gain a game on Dallas and move into 1.5 back in the West from Dallas, and they'd gain a half game on the Nuggets and get sole possession of 6. They have 2 games against Dallas in like the next 3. I'm pulling up their schedule right now. And so if they were to sweep Dallas some way, somehow, sweep Dallas, yes, 2 of the next 3. So they got Dallas, Phoenix, Dallas, Boston. Holy shit. Wow. How about that for a bucket of cold water? Dallas, Phoenix, Dallas, Boston. That's the next 4 games for the Wolves. Whew, man. And they only have 10 total games remaining. So, geez, we're going to know a lot more about the Wolves after these next 4 games. They could either, if they were to sweep Dallas and win, let's say, 3 of 4, I mean, then they got Denver with a chance to possibly knockout punch on Friday, April 1st. But if they were to lose both games against Dallas or even split, they're probably out of the running for the 5th seed. If things were to go poorly against 4 of the best teams in the NBA, especially Phoenix and Boston, who are at the top of the East and the West, then they're definitely playing in the play-in. I mean, with how the West, the only reason why the Timberwolves have climbed the West the way that they have is because they're 9-1 in their last 10 games. Something stupid like 14 of 17 in their last. So I mean, all they've done is win, no matter what. All right, I'm not gonna. Anyways, so all they've done is win, and that's why they are where they are. But I mean, that's Dallas, Phoenix, Dallas, Boston. I mean, that's a brutal fucking stretch. But it starts tonight. Dallas. If you started out on a good note, at Dallas tonight, beat Dallas, I mean, people are going to start believing a lot of crazy things. If you lose tonight, it's going to get negative in the press and everywhere else very quickly. So that's at 7:30. Yeah. Oh, Wild play tonight too. Marc-Andre Fleury not going to be in net. Marc-Andre Fleury will not be in net tonight. Cam Talbot. Hopefully, Andre Fleury next game. But that's all we got. So that's Minnesota Sports Fan Daily. Every day. Short, sweet, come in, talk about what's happening, and then we move on with our lives to the next day. We do the same thing. Around noon, every day. Subscribe on YouTube. Follow on Twitter. Go and subscribe. I'll upload this episode here shortly to the podcasting platforms. And until tomorrow, Eric Strock, Minnesota Sports Fan.